3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. This is Andre.
And I'm Solie.
And this is our very first episode of our new podcast. We've been married for about 7 months now. I'm 25. Solie's 20 years old. She's going to turn 21 in May, June, July.
Oh, my word. You know.
So at some point during the summer. And we've been married, like I said, for 7 months. Mm-hmm. Now Solie is pregnant, so we're expecting a child, a baby boy to come. And we just want to share some insight, have a conversation in front of the camera about love, about relationships. We tend to view things very differently than most young people today. Mm-hmm. We tend to see a lot of black and white, and both of us actually, and a lot of people see gray. And, you know, we've had people ask us for advice or how do relationships work. And so we just want to provide some insight. We don't pretend to know all the answers to the whole world, but we do want to add some value, add some insight to what some situations that young people may be dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll be talking about dating, marriage, gender roles, mm-hmm. All of those sorts of things, and just commentating on modern relationships and what we see a lot in our culture, what's really popular, and just what we see very frequently that mm-hmm. Isn't working for people, even if they think it is working out for them.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so we just hope that our podcast is very chill and conversational, and that something that you can just listen to wherever, and that you leave encouraged and with something to think about. So today's topic is, how do I find the one?
Ooh.
Because Andre and I have found the one. And a lot of people are trying to figure out how to find the one, and if there even is the one, if like that is such thing. And Andre and I are married now. So we believe we did find the one, that there's no turning back. Even if there was true. Somebody else that we like saw, or like, oh, that person seems like I could have been compatible with them too. Mm-hmm. But now we believe like you are the one.
It's true.
So how do you find the one?
Well,
help me.
This is how I've seen it. You want to find the one still?
No.
You just want some help.
I'm just pretending to be a person who doesn't know.
Right. The way that I see it is that finding the one is a lot less about actually finding or looking for the one, and it's a lot more about becoming the right person. Mm-hmm. And I remember I actually had a friend. I had a friend that would ask me, you know, how come I haven't found the person who truly loves me? I haven't found, you know, this was a girl, it was a 19-year-old girl, and she was asking me, how come I haven't found that person whom I, that I can really mesh with, that I can really feel like loves me deeply for who I am and knows me. And I just said, you know what? I don't think it's about that. I think it's about, and I obviously hadn't met you yet, but I was starting to understand some of the concepts that I know now. And one of those was, it's not about finding a person, just continue to work on yourself, continue to know who you are, and continue to better who you are in many ways. And then that person's going to come along and they're going to want to be with you. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to be a part of who you are, or a part of your life. But if you spend your life being dedicated to finding a person, you might be the same person for 20 years and not change all your flaws, and we all have flaws. So to say that you're just looking for a person and you're not actually evolving as a person, you're not getting better in your relationships, you're not antagonizing the other person for the wrongs that they do, you're not judging the other person, you're knowing that you're working on your own things that you do wrong, that you know you do wrong. And instead of that, I think most people today just focus on finding the right person. And I think being introspective and knowing what's going on inside of you is a lot more important.
Well, and I think like a lot of people, I think, actually know that. I think that is kind of like the trendy thing almost, to be like, forget like searching, like don't look, just work on you and focus on you. But a lot of people, their idea of focusing on themselves and like working on themselves is not actually making themselves a better person and making themselves somebody that another person would want to be with. And something that I noticed is a lot of these girls, I don't know how much it is this way from the guy's perspective, but a lot of people that I've seen, they set extremely high standards for guys and no standards for themselves. So they're like, this guy didn't treat me this way, and he didn't do this for me and that for me, and they're like, I'm gonna go off and better myself. And then they're still doing all the same things. They're still, they're sleeping around, they're making themselves way too available, they're immature, they don't act like grown women. They think they know, like they think that by realizing that the man that they chose last time was a trashy man, that now all of a sudden like they're better, like now they're better because they left that guy. And then they like all of a sudden like, I'm gonna go off and be dependent, I don't need a guy, or like I want a guy but I'm just gonna focus on myself right now. And then it's like, but they're doing all the wrong things.
That's true. And it's kind of that same thing. They become a lot more judgmental of whatever is going on in the person they're interested in, as opposed to realizing what things they have to work on, right? And that was kind of the same point I was making with that friend that I'm talking about, because she got really upset when I mentioned that. I mentioned, you know what, I don't think it's about that. She said she got really upset, and she didn't want to talk to me after that, because to her it was offensive to think about it was her. It might have been her fault. It might have been her fault that no guy has still like wanted to love her deep as she wants.
That's the thing. Like a lot of people, like if you tell them, and for me it's like very obvious like what the person can fix, or like that it is the person's own problem as opposed to the guy, or well, I guess it's both. But that if you like brought it up to them, they would not want to like face that. And
the same thing in that same realm, I think it's also important not to for let's say a girl or a guy to not desire to be in a relationship in that way, that have that desire, that deep desire to be loved by another person. Because if you do, you're almost looking for a God that is not existent, that's going to love you as deep as the waters and as deep as, and it's not to say that you don't find love, because obviously like we've found love, but the desire that is almost like a spiritual thing a lot of times is a desire for God instead of a desire for a significant other and a partner. So I think that's also something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And that's also not to say that it is wrong to want to be in a relationship, but you also have to find the balance of not being obsessive about it and not feeling like you can't live without it. And I think if you hear like everybody who has found the one, quote unquote, has said, as soon as I just like stopped looking and as soon as I just kind of like surrendered that desire to God, or just let go of that desire, then the one came. And I just think that's really interesting, because it's like that's the other thing. It's like nobody, well, I wouldn't say nobody, but it's like, who wants to be with somebody that's obsessive about finding that person? It's like you can't be content on your own. I think that's the issue. That's like true. just are discontent on your own. And if you're content while you're on your own, but you still like have that desire, like for me, before I met Andre and before we were dating, I was content with being single, but I definitely knew that I always wanted to get married one day. So what I did was I worked on becoming the type of woman that I would want to be as a wife. And I just became content with that. And I wasn't like, oh, I'm never going to find a husband. Or, I think like a lot of girls, well, not a lot of girls, at least me and my sisters were at one point, all of us were like, I'm going to become a nun.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that so many times. A lot of girls, they say that they want to become nuns when they can't find a person. Like, oh, I'm going to become a nun, And I think on the opposite side of the spectrum, there are a lot of women that also think that they have all the time in the world. They can get married when they're 45, which is technically true, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the wisest thing because it's just when you're youthful, it's the time. Imagine being able to spend the rest of your life as a young person. As the Bible says, for men, delight in the wife of your youth, right? And so how amazing it is to be able to spend your youth with a person you love, raising children. And I know that might be off-putting for a lot of people, but when you realize the amazing blessing that it is, then we're like, woohoo! Like it's exciting to live that life in that way.
And like, not to step on any toes or anything, but it definitely is easier to find the one when you're younger. And I think it's very interesting that a lot of like, even in Christian circles, a lot of women are saying they want to wait till they're like 30 to get married, which 30 is young, but it's not young enough. But it's very interesting that I think that's another thing is a lot of people who want to find the one, they like put themselves in these boxes of like planning out perfectly their entire lives. And so then they like miss out on so much. So like my mom, when she was in college, well, before she got into college, she had her whole life planned out. She wasn't going to get married till she was 25 and all these things. And had she like stuck to that plan, she would not have found the one, quote unquote. She wouldn't have ended up marrying my dad. And they almost didn't get married because she had that mindset. And I personally believe that that marriage, that finding the one is easier when you're younger.
That's true, especially for a girl. Which I know this is why our podcast is black and white, because I know a lot of people are going to be upset at that.
Yeah.
But it is true. I mean, for girls, for women, the younger you are, the more youthful you are, the easier it is going to be to find a quality man to marry. And then on the flip side, for men, I would say the faster you mature, the more you let go of wanting to play video games all night, the more you let go of, your silly dumb games or getting drunk and going out and doing this. And the more you say, you know what, I want to become a responsible man who's able to pay for his own things, who is independent and who isn't out, trying to scheme to see who he's going to sleep with that weekend. The faster you mature in that, the easier it's going to be for you to find.
Yeah, and that's the same thing for girls too. A lot of girls are just in places where they're like, okay, I'm going to go to college first. I'm going to have a career. When they're in their early 20s, they're like, okay, I'm going to go party. I'm going to go live it up, or just be like really irresponsible and live in ways that don't make them attractive to guys that are also genuinely trying to find the one. And it's like, it doesn't make sense, because it's like, if you're trying to find the one and you're taking that so seriously, but you don't even take your own life seriously, and you might think that you are because you're going to school and you're doing all these things, but it's like, if you are putting those things above like finding the one, does this make sense? And you're not making yourself available in that way, and you're just saying, no, I want to find the one, but not right now, or whatever, then you could be missing out.
That is true.
Oh my God, I'm breath.
Yeah, you're doing great, sweetie.
Thank you.
So now we just want to go and mention some of the tweets that we've seen that are kind of related to the topic.
Yeah.
So Solie pick these tweets. If you
Yeah.
can just kind of explain what's going on here on this first one.
Well, I just want to say, like, about probably once a day, Andre will read something off of Twitter at least once a day, and then he'll like read the replies, and it's usually just something that is just so like ludicrous and crazy. And so I found a couple of tweets, and this guy, should I say who tweeted it? No. He says, as a man who loves and is loyal, why must I have to go through 10 bad word, insert bad word here.
Like girls, 10 bum girls? Is that what he means?
Yeah.
Okay.
To possibly find the real one. A lot of women say they want a real one and then turn down the real because of thoughts of all the other dudes that are nuts.
Interesting.
Oh, there's a lot in that. In that. Wow, this poor guy.
That I don't even know what to say. What do you have to say about that one?
First of all, I think it's really interesting because he says, why must I have to go through 10 girls, women, to possibly find the real one? And first of all, to that, I have to say, you do not have to go through a ton of people to find the real one. Okay. Andre was my very first boyfriend. He took me on my first date ever. Okay. I only went through one, and that was him, to find the real one. So, and that's probably a whole different podcast topic, but just knowing that finding the real one does not mean having lots and lots and lots of relationships.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't need to know, you can know what you want and what you like without seeing other, like, lots of different people.
That's true. And one thing that I've heard is it's a numbers game, Mm-hmm. It's like, no, well, if you just go through many people, you're bound to find one. And I actually used to think like that. I used to think, you know what, there are 7 billion people on Earth, right? And that means that there are 3.5 billion girls on Earth. Those of the ones that speak English, I have no idea, but let's say the ones that speak English are 1 billion or something, or like 1 billion people girls that speak English. Out of those billion people, maybe like 100 million are actual Christians. And out of those Christians, the ones that truly know Jesus are 50 million. And the ones that are okay with, like, that understand a different culture and that are like, want a different culture, maybe like 25 million. And the ones that heard of Guatemala are not repulsed by, maybe immigrants or what, you know what I mean? You just, like, I used to come up with these scenarios and then be like, oh, my pool of women that I like, that could be the one. It's so small. I used to think that way. It's so small, that pool of women. And so you have to, like, go through a lot to try to find that one specific person. And it's not like that at all, guys. Let me just say that the way that it is it's not a numbers game, it's a God game. And you are not in control of that game. You are not in control of that game. You're really not. God is in control of the game. And so the less effort you put into it and the more you allow God to put into it, and that means that you just let go. You let go of the desire to, specifically find someone. That doesn't mean you have your eyes closed. Like, if the person comes, you're going to be like, no, I have no desire. No, it just means that when the person comes, you're going to know that it's the person because God put it in front of you. And you're going to be so focused on the things of above that you're going to be like, it's so easy to find that person. And I know that may seem like a really weird concept to understand, but it really is how it is. And that's why a lot of people say, once I let go, I ended up finding what I wanted. That's why, because the way that God is just saying, listen, don't dwell on these things. Don't put so much of your energy into these things. Like, how about you put that same energy into me? into just letting go of things and just saying, you know what, I want things that are higher than this. And especially for men, the more you do that, the more all those things are gonna happen, but you can't desire it.
And that's also why it's really helpful to know exactly what you want too, because then if you know exactly what you want, and I mean like realistically, not like I want him to be 6'6", okay? Not like that, but the things that are non-negotiable, like different values, like he wants to provide for the family, he's a Christian, he's respectful to his parents, things like that. It will save a lot of heartbreak, first of all, and you won't have to go through relationship after relationship trying to figure out, oh, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. I never had a relationship before Andre, but when I got to know Andre, I knew that was exactly what I would have wanted in a husband, because I had, the things that I wanted. And so even though, I mean, he ended up being way more than what I wanted, actually.
Oh.
And so just having that, knowing exactly what I wanted, you don't have to go through 50 billion trash guys, or even, I'm not saying you can't like go out on dates or whatever, but you don't have to comb through a ton of guys and go through a ton of heartbreak and then have this realization, oh, I know exactly what I want, I know exactly who I am. All you have to do is know what you want and not compromise on that at all.
Right. That is true. So just to kind of close up, I know we have more tweets, but I want to get through these tweets, and then I want to like recap kind of what we said. So what's going on with the second one?
The second one, the people be suggesting to go out, find the one, date, and get married because it's better than arranged marriages. But how am I supposed to find the one? It's effing hard.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's not hard because you can't put that desire into it. There is a way to do it and get what you want. And that way is actually letting go, allowing God to change who you are, becoming the person who God wants you to be. And then it's going to happen, because if you have desire to have a family, if you have desire to have a spouse, most likely it's going to happen that there is someone out there that is for you. But if you're dwelling on finding that specific person, and because of that, let's say you're not like trying to be healthy, you're not trying to work out, you're not trying to eat right, or you're not trying to develop your finances, your character, which is the most important, then how are you going to be, looking for all that energy in another person? That other person is going to be like, oh, listen, like I also like playing video games all night. I like doing that. So, and why can't I find a person? Well, listen, buddy, there's an answer. You're playing video games all the time, and the other person's like, oh, the girls are like, oh, you know what, that's fine. And then they get to know you more and more, and then they move in together, and they're like, you know what, it's not fine.
Sleeping together, and it's like,
and it's like, it's not fine. It's not gonna work out, and then they decide, oh, I don't want this. When you do it the wrong way, it may work out for a little while. In the long run, it's not gonna work out. And that's why I know. And I like I said, we are very young. We're not pretending like we have all the answers. We're very young in this marriage. We've only been married for 7 months. Or I don't even know how long we've been.
I don't either.
But we've been married for however long, right? So it's not a long time. But we know that we're going to stay together. Divorce is not even on the table. It never is. And the reason why is because we know what God has united, let no man separate, right? And we just want to share that with other people and let people know, listen, it's not a hard thing. It's actually kind of easy. In the moment, it seems hard. But once you let go, things happen a lot more naturally.
Yeah. And so do you want me to read the next one? Okay, so it says, I really laid up in this guy's bed after hooking up with him and listened to him talk about how he's still single and can't find the one for 30 minutes, as if I hadn't been in love with him for 3 years. Okay, so first of all, I guess she's saying that she's been in love with him for 3 years and she finally slept with him. Wow, girl. Okay, so there's a lot in all of these tweets. I don't know if people like can see that. There's so much so like everything wrong that these people are saying is just like wrong. But first of all, okay, I'm telling y'all right now, you're gonna think I'm crazy, maybe you might not, but sleeping with somebody will not help you determine if they are the one or not.
Facts. Yeah. That is facts.
This guy is hooking up with girls, okay? And then this little boy is crying to this girl that he literally just had sex with about how he can't find the one. Okay.
Everything is wrong with this because first of all, the very first thing that is wrong is like this girl's expectations of him to have some sort of affection towards her because she slept with him. Mm-hmm. Let's get real, guys, here. Let's get real. That's not sex is not love. Mm-mm. I love the train of paths. Sex is not love. No. It never was and never will be. Sex is not love.
The songs might make you think it is.
Right. You know what I mean? Or your love is my drug, whatever. All those things, like they always give us the wrong side of what actually love is. And so this girl's expecting some emotional reciprocation in turn for her sex. Guys, it's never going to work. Never, ever going to work. Never did work. Never, whatever. Mm-hmm. Whatever you feel after you have sex is not love, let me tell you. It's something other than love, mm-hmm. you know, and it might be even something other than lust. So don't fool yourselves into thinking that by sex you're going to wrap the other person or that sex is not actually giving, or that sex is going to give you some sort of satisfaction besides the physical aspect of it. It never does.
And do not expect to find the one if every person that you end up in a relationship with, you sleep with, and or do not expect to find the one if you are just sleeping around with lots of different people. That is not how you're going to find the one. It just will not work. Pro tip.
No, definitely mm-hmm. will not work. The other thing that is interesting is that how he's complaining about not finding the one, you know.
Yeah.
That should tell her
she need to get out that bed.
Yeah,
she need to run.
Well, she should have known that before, yeah. You know. But that should tell her that he is already in a place that is not relationship material.
Like, I hope this girl was not still considering him after this. Maybe she wasn't because she's like complaining about it on Twitter, but
but she probably was. Let's be honest.
Yeah, she probably was.
And so I just want to make sure that people understand that this whole sex thing, this whole like sleeping around and will prove, this whole complaining about not finding the one. Mm-hmm. Listen, it's not. None of that works. Okay, None of that works.
Yeah. So Andre and I did not do it. Did not do any of these things to find the one. We just really left it up to God.
So, and we will tell you our story, you know, our love story at some point, because I think it's actually really interesting. Mm-hmm. But needless to say, our love story had nothing to do with that. And there was heartbreak involved in our story, you know, in our love story, from both our parts. Mm-hmm. However, there's a reason why, you know, and you understand the reason after when God opens your eyes and you say, you know what, that's how it was supposed to happen, and that's why it happened, you know. So let's just recap what we talked about today, so for the peoples.
So we talked about finding the one.
Yes, finding the one.
First of all, bettering yourself, working on your own personal character as opposed to judging other people's potential relationships, characters, and holding yourself up to just as high standards as somebody that you want to be in a relationship with. That is
good. The other thing is letting go of that desire. And that doesn't mean that you don't want a family anymore, you don't want to be with someone. No, letting go of the desire in the way that it's not your top priority. Your top priority is going to be
that you're not living in fear that it won't happen, that you're not obsessive, not
Yes.
looking at every single guy as marriage material or
And then the last thing is don't get involved sexually.
yeah.
It's
And
just
also
doesn't-
just know what you want too.
Yes, that is very
Know what
good.
you want so that you're not just shopping around and spending all your money.
That's true. People treat. I heard actually our pastor say this one time. People treat relationships like they're shopping around, like it's some sort of cereal or cookie, Oreo cookie. You go to the mall and you're like, oh, I want this one. You try it, you take it
Like,
home, you
put it
try
in
it
your
out.
cart,
You're
walk
like,
around with it.
You take a little sample. You're like, maybe not, and you put it back, whatever. That's not how relationships are, guys.
That's not how they should be.
No, and that's not the way it works. So thank you for watching. I do want to
Yes,
say
thank you.
we're going to make, these podcasts, a weekly thing. We're going to try to make it a weekly thing. Talking about love. We're going to be talking about relationships, love, all of that. And black and white because she's black and white or mixed. So that's why. Not really. But thank you so much for watching. You want to say an outro?
Any feedback, any topics that you think are interesting, if you're watching this on or listening to this on YouTube, just let us know what you think. Honestly, if you agree, if you disagree, if something #triggered you. And also make sure to follow us on social media. We have an Instagram, Andre and Solie, but we also have personal Instagrams. His is Andre Post.
Andre O. Post.
Yeah, and mine is Solie Oli, and we also have a Facebook page.
Andre and Solie.
Yes, and we make music.
Yeah, so just check us
vlogs.
out, subscribe. We're going to be putting out a lot of content, so I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.